Hello there and welcome to another video, and today I'm going to talk a little bit about Guard. It's one of the first videos, maybe even the first one, depending on when I publish this. If you're not familiar with Guard is, it is the security app for the Atlassian Cloud platform, and it is quite awesome. And if you are not familiar with it, you probably should get familiar with it quite soon. And one easy way to do that is, of course, to watch as I go through the different areas of Guard. And today I'm going to talk about security policies, especially for user sync. And I thought that why not show this a little bit more visually than just talk, because a lot of people like me like visuals. So for this video, I've actually taken the advantage of whiteboards in Confluence to just map these out a little bit. So let's just jump into Confluence and the whiteboard and show you how I am thinking around the policies and why I think you need to have these 4 standards that I will show you. Let's jump over. So here we are now in Confluence. So let's start by looking into your account creation, just so we get a little bit more familiarized with it, in case you are not fully in the know-how of how accounts are being created within Atlassian. So when you create an account, regardless of which domain or email address you attach to it, it will be stored on Atlassian platform. So your account will always be stored at the Atlassian account or the Atlassian platform. And so that's where it will always reside. It does not matter how you do it, because unlike data center, you can never create local accounts. So normally everything about your account will be managed by yourself, and you will then go to the Atlassian platform to actually manage all aspects of your account. What Guard do is that it allows you to claim a domain. So what you do is you define a domain, and then you provide proof in different forms that you actually own that domain. And once the claim has been made, certain aspects of your account will actually be managed by Guard. So what that means is certain aspects of security will actually be transferred over from Atlassian to Guard, and it will allow you to set different security aspects on accounts. So when you are now using any form of AD, for example, to sync your accounts from your organization, that one will actually go to Guard, and it will look up then in Atlassian to see if they exist, and then they will do their magic here in between to making sure that everything that is related to your domain, regardless of where they are, will be handled by Guard. Okay? So this has a few side effects that you can imagine, because not everyone that works or exists within your AD might be the full content of email addresses. You might have created local ones, or you might have rogue ones, and Guard will actually fetch all of these. And in some cases, you will notice, for example, if you have a bunch of people that have created accounts on Trello, for example, or Bitbucket, you might not even have them in your Atlassian instance here because they are hosted elsewhere. They will still be fetched here, and they will be considered to be accounts that are counting towards your licenses. So that means that you will have 2 groups. So you will have one group that is called managed accounts, which is everything that relates to your domain here. But you can also have other users that you have invited that do not belong to this domain. They are called unmanaged users. So far, we have now then the account that you have created on Atlassian. We are syncing now the organization data here through Guard, checking out with Atlassian and making sure that we have control of them. What Guard then do is that it implies different, or it enforces, I guess is the correct term, different rules, different policies on how the account can actually act within the Atlassian platform. That's where these policies comes in. So if you have never seen a policy, they look kind of like this. This is from the Atlassian website. So you have 2 policies here, and these are kind of the settings that you can set in them. So in this one, you will also see that you will have a default policy, and it says non-billable here. And that's an important thing to know, because what you want to do is for all those weird accounts that you do not want to have licenses for, that you don't want to give them licenses in your platform. It could be the Trello users, the Bitbucket users, it could be random people outside of your organization that have access to different things. You don't want to get charged for those. So you want to put them into a policy that says non-billable. They will not count towards your licenses. That is important because otherwise your bill will go up, and that's not something that you want to do. So when you create one of these policies, you can create as many as you want. As far as I know, there is no limit, but I'm assuming there is at some point. If you do several trillions, I think they will not accept that. But there are 4 that I have found in all my instances that I always have, and they are kind of standard for me to always have. And these are the 4 that I have counted here. So the first one is the non-billable that you see up here. So what I want for that one is, there are 3 things that I basically need to look out for. It's a single sign-on, it's a 2-factor authentication, and it is the ability to create and manage API tokens. So single sign-on, if you have this one, you probably have it through the AD, which means that if you have users that are not going through your AD, you cannot have the single sign-on connected to it. There are some workarounds around it, so you can theoretically have it anyway. But in general, you cannot have it on multiple areas. So for the non-billable, these are people that are not in your AD or people that you don't want to actually count toward your license. You don't want to enforce single sign-on, because if you do, they can no longer log in without going through AD. And that can cause some problems, especially for external ones that might use their email or their Atlassian account on other areas, because then they need to authenticate through your AD, and that's not a good thing. 2-step authentication, you don't want to enforce that one, because if you do, then they will be enforced to have it everywhere, and you don't want that. And API tokens, we want to make sure that we control API tokens. In almost every instance where I have worked, when we don't control the API tokens, bad things have happened. And it's very easy for people to create their tokens and connect it to a bunch of things, and performance goes down and security issues happen. So a general rule is never allow anyone to create their own API tokens. They have to ask for permission to actually connect to anything, like any integration should. So non-billable people should not be allowed to create tokens. Their single sign-on should not be enforced, and 2-step authentication should be optional. The second policy is the default one for me. It is where you have the users that are synced from the AD, and these are the people that should work in the Atlassian platform. Single sign-on is always enforced, because you should only have people in this group that belongs to the AD that are being synced through that one. So single sign-on through the AD should always be turned on. You should have 2-step authentication as optional, because most of the time the 2-factor authentication is actually happening on the server side where the AD is, and it should not be on the Atlassian side, unless you have some weird setup where you don't do 2-factor authentication in your AD, that's another topic on why you would have that. But then it should still be optional. And API tokens should never be allowed for regular users. And then we have the 2. These 2 I think are quite clear on why do we have those. One is so we can separate people that should not be billed, and so we can have people that might need their email elsewhere, so we don't block them accidentally. And the other one is the general one. We sync them through the AD, they log in through the AD, and we don't allow any of them to have any tokens. Then you have the 2 extra ones. So the Saint account, which is a service account for integration, this is the only way that I allow people to actually access an API. So what I do is, for now at least, until Atlassian have introduced the service account functionality that they are building, is that I create a dummy account, basically a dummy email on the server, on the AD side. And the only purpose for that one is so I can control the login and I can control the token. So the users actually don't even get access to the email itself. That is only for the Atlassian team, so we can keep control of who can access what. And then we have then the single sign-on is not enforced because it is impossible for an API to actually do a single sign-on. And then we don't have two-step authentication for the same reason. It's kind of hard for an integration to open an app and do a two-step authentication. And we allow API tokens. And usually these accounts, you have a policy or a strategy that you actually review every 6 months or every 12 months, depending on how secure you want to be and how often and how many applications you actually have that is connected through the API. And then the last one, hard-earned lesson, if you have your admin accounts as part of the standard one, up here, and single sign-on is enforced, then if the AD goes down, you can't log in anymore. So what we do here is that we have the admin accounts in a separate policy, and we say that we do not enforce single sign-on, so you can actually log in without the AD. And we have two-step authentication enforced instead, making sure that regardless of how you do it, you need to have a two-factor authentication to secure it. And we do not allow even admins, even org admins are not allowed to have any form of tokens. They are only allowed here. So if you have this set up, and you can also, for emergency reasons, you can actually create a break glass account. Just like you have a Saint account, you can have a dummy account on the admin side that is only then used if things go very bad and you cannot actually access the system. Then you can have one specifically accessible here that is kind of like a master password or a master account that you can log in. But remember, since it's two-step authentication, then someone needs to own that authentication so they can log in with it. So this is how I do my policies, and then you can have exceptions to different policies, and you can have anything above this one. But these are the 4 I think are mandatory to have when you are setting up security in Guard for your cloud platform. I am really curious to hear what you think. If you think you have a better idea, or if you have other options that you think needs to be here, or if you think one of those options are irrelevant because you found another way around them. So please sign off in the comments and let me know what thoughts you have. And with that, I think I have presented my thoughts well enough, at least for today. And I just hope that you will have a great day and awesome week.